All right, live. Good morning, Will Aylward here, Life Without Limits, life coach and RTT practitioner. Thank you for joining me. Got something really special, which I have been looking forward to and excited all this week, and it's finally happening. This is an interview. This is the first Facebook Live interview that I have ever given. I'm speaking to a really wonderful, super skilled woman who I have been following and admiring for some time. Her name is Dr. Emee Vida Estacio, and Dr. Emee is a chartered psychologist. She is the founder of something called the PAME code, that's PAME, which we're definitely going to be talking about today. And she's an author of several books, and they are all best sellers. Now, what we're talking about today, I can see Dr. Emee is here, and I'll be inviting her to join in just a moment. What we're talking about today is certainly the PAME code, which Dr. Emee is the founder of, but really it's imposter syndrome. And imposter syndrome, I really think, is going to resonate with a lot of people. It's certainly something that I lived with, especially my early days of entrepreneurship. And I think many of us, professionals, parents, even students to some extent, are going to resonate with what we're talking about today. So I'm going to press the button, and hopefully on the other side we're going to see the very lovely Dr. Emee. So bring them on camera. Add. Okay, let's have a look. So it says adding Dr. Emee. Hello, you're there.
Hi, Will. Morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Awesome. It's working.
It's working. Yeah, I know this
I've
is.
never done Facebook Live in this way before, and I rarely use my phone. I'm always on my desktop, so it's great. Thank you for having me this morning.
You're welcome. Thank you for joining me. I'm really pleased this worked out. As you know, this is my first time as well, but I really like it. It's amazing. I know that you're in the UK. I'm here in Germany, and yeah, it's working great.
Yeah,
Thank you
it's
for joining
awesome
me.
to have this live. It's awesome that the internet can do these wonder.
Oh, I think we lost you there. Let's let's bring let's bring you back. Mhm. So just gonna bring you up.
Hello.
Hello. You were just saying how awesome the internet was, and it kicked you off.
I know. Well, I think there was a notification asked me to return to watching, but anyway, we're back.
Okay. Good, thank you. I'm really pleased. I'm really pleased, and thank you for creating some time today to, yeah, share your expertise. So you are a chartered psychologist, I believe. I know you're an author of several best-selling books, including the Imposter Syndrome Remedy, and you're the founder of the PAME code,
It's actually
PAME.
called PAME.
PAME. Ah, okay.
Yes,
I was
it's
wondering whether I was
actually it's a
pronouncing it.
Greek word. It's a Greek word. If you go to Greece, people will say PAME, PAME, and it actually means let's go together.
Oh,
It's encouraging you to go together, and that's actually the essence of the PAMI code. It means that in this life, in this journey that we have, we don't have to do it on our own. We can actually share the journey together, and that's what the PAMI code stands for.
okay. So it's PAME. Interesting.
Yeah,
Interesting. And
and the truth is, yes, PAMI is the Greek word, literally, let's go together. But I also borrowed that word and used the acronym, which stands for
mm,
purpose, action, momentum, and energy. And it simply means that in whatever we do in life, we always have to remember our purpose, always ground ourselves in our purpose. But at the same
mm.
time, we need to couple this with action because intentions and purpose without action really doesn't mean anything. You need to couple it with action, keep it consistent, maintain the momentum, but always remember to look after yourself and look after the people around you and maintain that positive energy out. Because in the process you might get yourselves burned out. So always
Mm.
remember your purpose, action, momentum, but also keep up the positive energy. So that's what PAMI stands for.
Okay, wonderful. I really like that. And I think it's so true. I think, we can be really, really clear on our purpose. We can set intentions but really action is so important. And I think people talk a lot these days about the law of attraction and the secret. And I like the book, I like the movie, but it doesn't talk about action enough. It almost gives off the intention of just think about your purpose,
Yeah,
just think
just
about what you
believe
want.
that it will come. Yeah, you have it, it will manifest
Yeah.
if you actually do something about it. You'll get triggered, like you'll have hits, like you have to have that desire, you need to have that purpose, but to make it happen, you don't
Mhm.
just wait and see if it will come. You have to make things happen.
Yeah, absolutely. So I love that. So it's purpose, action, momentum, and energy as well.
Energy. Yeah.
Yeah. So Pame, or is it Pame? Pame?
Pame, pame, pame.
Pame. Okay, Pame. So yeah, so that's what it stands for. How did that come to you?
To tell you the truth, my husband shouts it all the time. Like he, because he's Greek, he always drags me, Pame, Pame, let's go. And yeah, that's when it occurred to me that yeah, in life we have to go together. And the truth is, I'm also a huge fan of Napoleon Hill. And the
Mm,
acronym that I use, purpose, action, momentum, and energy, I was inspired by the teachings of Napoleon Hill, and I just followed that and thinking about the mastermind, and having these intentions, coupling it with action, having a pleasant personality, engaging with people. It all boils together, but I just thought,
mm.
let me see if I could put it in such a way that will be easy to remember, easy to implement as well, and that's how PAMI came about.
Yeah. Wonderful. It's funny, isn't it, how, this there's I think like synchronicity. There's certain things that sort of happen in couple, and then we have this idea and we piece it together, and it's like, wow, okay, my husband's saying this is what resonates with me. So really cool, really cool. Thank you
Yeah,
for
it all
sharing.
came together that way.
Yeah, good. So talking of inspiration, I know that you've written several books as part of a psychology in your life series, one of which is called the Imposter Syndrome Remedy, which I'm really curious to hear your thoughts on. But my first question to do with this is what inspired you to write this book about imposter syndrome?
Imposter syndrome. Yeah, again, to be perfectly honest with you, I've been crippled by imposter syndrome for many, many years. Um, I don't know if you can see, but I have this baby face. I'm actually a lecturer, but sometimes students think that I'm a student as well.
Okay,
So it
yeah.
makes me feel as if, oh, I've been studying psychology for over 20 years now, believe it or not, but sometimes I still feel as if am I actually good enough to do this? Or now that I'm starting my online career, it makes me feel as if, am I just fooling myself, or am I just fooling everyone into believing that I know what I know? So I actually
Mm,
have to find remedies myself. I actually do know because I'm a psychologist. I know the theory, but writing the book also forces me to practice what I teach, right?
yes.
So in a way, I actually do experience imposter syndrome myself, especially when I try to do something new. I will have to step back and think, look, am I actually good enough to do this? Do I have the competence to do this? Helps me to
Hmm.
step back a little bit. But now that I've written about imposter syndrome and the techniques that I can use to remedy imposter syndrome, I apply it myself, and it sort of helps me. And actually, it helps a lot of other people as well to overcome these feelings of self-doubt, feelings of incompetence, and feelings
Mm.
as if we're just fooling everyone into believing that we know what we know, when actually we do know what we know.
Yeah, I believe you, and it's so refreshing. It's so refreshing to hear that. You're a doctor. You've studied. You're a chartered psychologist. You've written books on this, and you say that yeah, there's still moments where am I fooling people? Do I really know? And like you said, we really do, but it's just those. I think for me, it's
Doubt.
just those thoughts and doubts that spring to mind, and
Oh.
I think it's something that is maybe part of the human condition. I think it's just natural for us to have those thoughts and to say, do I really know this?
Yeah, and
Yeah.
actually it's not such a bad thing. I mean, having that self-doubt sometimes, makes you pause a little bit and think about, your abilities, assess the risks, and
Mm,
prepare for it. But the trouble is, for some people, they let self-doubt overcome them. They let the
mm,
self-doubt control and stop them from doing what they are meant to do. But, that's not actually very productive if you let it happen in that way. So yes, self-doubt in moderate amounts is okay. But when you feel it, you need to be able to learn how to manage it and make
mm.
most out of it, to maximize the self-doubt and do what you have to do to prepare and overcome it.
Yeah, definitely. So if somebody's watching, this is really resonating. They're thinking, "Oh my gosh, like I do doubt myself. I do question whether I know what I'm talking about." For anyone who's watching and this is really resonating, what steps or what advice would you give to that person so they can really remedy? That's the title of the book. It's the Imposter Syndrome Remedy.
Yeah,
How can they
imposter
remedy?
syndrome remedy. Yeah, I call it remedy because as I keep saying, it's not something that we can cure. Self-doubt will always be there, especially when we start something new, when we have new projects, you will always have that self-doubt. So you cannot cure it, but you can just remedy it. And in the book, I have all sorts of remedies, but let's see what's the time. I can share maybe two or three remedies today. The
Yeah,
first
that would be
remedy that
amazing.
I
Thank you.
can Yeah, the first remedy that I can share with you is understanding your inner critic. I would assume that your followers will already know what an inner critic is, but
Mm,
for those who are not sure, it's this voice inside your head that tells you, you're not good enough, who are you to do this? It tells you all these doubts and fears. It nags sometimes. And for some self-help gurus, they will actually ask you to crush it or to banish it or to fight with your inner critic. But as far as my books are concerned, I actually ask people, don't have a battle with your inner critic. Don't fight it. Because whether you like it or not, your inner critic is still part of who you are. It might be that inner voice inside your head, but it's still your head. So don't try
mm.
to destroy your head.
Yeah,
So what
yeah.
what I'm going to say is, instead of fighting your inner critic, you need to understand your inner critic, get to know your inner critic, know where these views are coming from, explore these messages and have that dialogue with your inner critic. And in my book, I have this technique called the TLC technique that will help you to have that dialogue with your inner critic.
Amazing. So TLC.
Yeah,
Wow.
do you want to know what that is?
Yeah, I'm curious. I'm curious. I'd love to know.
So the TLC technique is actually inspired by rational emotive therapy in psychology, but it's a questioning sequence that encourages you to ask three questions. So T stands for, is it true? L stands for, is it logical? And C stands for, is it constructive? So, for
Mm,
example, if you're telling yourself, I'm not qualified to do this, you have to ask, first question, is it true? Really? You're not qualified to do this? Where are you basing this answer from? Where is your evidence? So it might be that you have to answer this question and look for evidence on your CV. Maybe you've done some training in the past that makes you qualified to do this. Or perhaps you have life experience that makes you a good person, qualified to do this and give this kind of advice. So ask the first question, is it true? Look for
hmm.
evidence, and it's more likely than not that you wouldn't find enough evidence to support that it is.
Yeah. I love that.
So that's the first question. Ask, is it true? The second question is L, is it logical? So for example, if you are telling yourself, oh, this is too hard, I shouldn't I shouldn't do this anymore. It's too difficult. Ask, is it logical? Just
Hmm.
because it is hard now, does it mean that it's going to be hard forever? I mean, logic will state that if you keep doing something over and over again with practice and with experience, things will get easier and things will get better eventually.
Hmm.
So if you are telling yourself, I cannot do this, it's too hard, ask yourself, is it true? Yes, it's true, it's probably hard now, but ask, is it logical? Just because it is hard now, does it mean that it's going to be hard forever?
Mm-hmm.
So that's
I
the
love
second question. The third question in the TLC questioning sequence is, is it constructive? So even if you are saying, yes, it is true that it is hard, okay, it might not be logical that just because it is hard now, it doesn't mean that it is hard forever. You also have to ask, how can I make it easier? Make it
Mm.
constructive. If you're saying it is hard, how does that help you? How will you make it easier? How will it make it easier for you or others around you? I'll have another example. A lot of my clients would say, I'm not good at this. Every time I look everywhere, someone is doing better than me. I'm not good at this because someone else is doing better than me. Now, you might say, is it true? It's possibly true that they are doing better than you. Is it
Mm.
logical? Well, just because they are doing better than you doesn't mean that you shouldn't do it, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
the
yeah.
third question is it constructive? If they are doing better than you, what can you learn from them? How can that be helpful for you? It's okay if someone is doing better than you. Make it constructive. What can you gain and what can you learn from someone who's doing a lot better than you? So
Mm.
yeah, that's it. That's my first remedy. It's the TLC technique. Just ask, is it true? Is it logical? Is it constructive? And that way you get to know that message, that inner critic message, and make that
Mm.
message work better for you.
Wow, I love that. What I love about that is it's so simple, but it's so powerful. But the problem is we don't challenge our thoughts. We just go with the thought, we go with the feeling. Whereas this, what you're offering here is so valuable because it's like question it, ask if it's true, ask if it's logical. And I love the constructive one because I really believe that we become our expectations. So if we don't question those thoughts, if we just assume that they're correct,
Mm,
we're going to become that. If we tell ourselves we're rubbish, we tell ourselves we're not good enough, we're going to become that. So, is it constructive?
absolutely.
What you're saying is, turn it into a question. What can you learn from this thought? So, yeah, super valuable. Thank you.
Yes, and another tip is sometimes these inner critic messages are so ingrained that we've been holding on to it for so long. It's quite difficult to go through the TLC technique. Usually you would say, I'm a failure, and you would say, yes, it's true, I'm a failure. And yes, it's logical. Just because I failed now, it means that I will fail forever. And there's nothing I can do about this. There's nothing constructive about it. Sometimes
Mm,
we are so ingrained in those thoughts that we couldn't, reconcile and change our thoughts just on our own. That's why if you are stuck in that position, I would strongly encourage that you find a mentor, a coach, or
mm.
a friend, and have that TLC questioning sequence with them. So you'll have this three-way dialogue between you, your inner critic, and a third party to join
Yeah.
in into that conversation, because sometimes the messages are so ingrained that you've just
Mm.
accept it as true, logical, and destructive.
Yeah, I get it. I get it. And I think Les Brown said, we can't see the picture when we're standing in the frame. So to have a mentor or even a friend go through that process and offer some perspective, it's really valuable because then they can question the answers. If somebody's going, of course it's true, of course it's logical, then they can say, well, what about this? What about, have you thought about this? And then that just little change of perspective, I know can be so, so powerful. So yeah, really important point.
Absolutely. And that's actually where it goes back to PAME again, let's go together. Because if you do it on your own, sometimes you on your own, you get stuck. And if you have someone who can share that journey with you, who can explore those messages with you, it becomes easier to unpick it and see it from a different perspective.
Mm, wonderful. Thank you.
So that's actually the first remedy. If we have time, yes, we still have time, I can share with you the second remedy.
Yes,
And
please.
some of your followers will probably know this already. It's called the flashlight technique. But
Mm.
basically, the flashlight technique is a technique where you imagine that you are holding a flashlight, and with a flashlight, the light can only flash at one spot at a time. Now, if you flash the light onto yourself and you're feeling doubtful and you're feeling incompetent and you're doubting everything, you have no confidence, that's the only thing you'll see. And if you're flashing the light onto that, other people may end up seeing that as well. So what you
Mm.
need to do is instead of flashing the light onto your self-doubt, or flashing the light onto your sense of incompetence and inadequacy, what you need to do is you need to shine the light out. Now, what I mean by
Mm.
that, if you are a coach or if you are a therapist, for example, instead of flashing the light onto your self-doubt, flash the light onto your clients. Flash the light onto the people you're aiming to serve. What are their ambitions? What are their goals? What are their pain points? And when you see that, you will have this sense of, okay, this person needs me. There is something, maybe I'm not perfect, but there is something that I know and something that I can offer to help this other person. So
Mm.
instead of focusing on yourself, you actually look at that other person that you're aiming to serve. And even if you're feeling doubtful, you will do whatever it takes to help that other person. So that's the flashlight technique. Instead of flashing the light onto yourself, you shine the light out, see what other people need, what are their pain points, what are their
Mm.
problems, and think about how can you serve them and how can you help them. Even if you're feeling doubtful, surely there's something that you can do to help them.
Mm. It's so true, and it's really interesting. Just yesterday, I was talking with a client about this, and she has a business, and yeah, maybe she needs to talk to you. She had this, this doubt, and I sort of asked her about, how would it change things to almost what you're saying with, the flashlight, to make it about rather than me. So something that I talk about is the me versus we mindset. If we focus on me, it's our doubts, our problems, our feelings. Make it about we. Focus on that other person, and it really brings a sense of, I think you said service, and for me, it's about duty as well. There's a real
Yeah.
sense of duty and just like, what does this person need? Because you're right, we can be moved beyond our doubts and our limiting thoughts if it's about that other person. So that's really powerful.
Yeah, so it's not just about your feelings of incompetence. Yes, we may feel doubtful. Yes, we are not perfect, but there's something about you that you can share. And if you can see someone in pain or someone in need, or there's someone who has lots of ambitions, they have aspirations and goals, what can you do to help them and what can you do to serve? If you know something, or if you have the skills and competence to actually do it, why don't you go ahead and share it and serve others in that way?
Mm. It's a really great point. Thank you. Two really, really powerful remedies. So where can people discover your book, The Imposter
My
Syndrome
books,
Remedy?
well, they can actually visit my website, thepamicode.com, and
Hmm.
there's a link there in my bookstore. So all my books will be there. So I
Wonderful.
I have the first book is called Change Your Life for Good. So it's showing all these techniques that I've learned from psychology, if people are feeling stuck, or if they want to change unwanted habits, or if they want a new transition, change in their life. That's the book to read. The second one is what we've discussed today, Imposter Syndrome Remedy. If they're feeling doubtful about themselves, for some people, they have years and years of experience, lots of training, lots of qualifications, and they still feel incapable. They still feel like they're a fraud. Well, that's the book where
Mm.
it will teach you how to embrace your worth, to recognize your value so you can actually flourish in what you do at work and in life. So it's
Mm.
Imposter Syndrome Remedy. And the third book is called Fear is Not My Enemy. And it's about recognizing that fear is not something that needs to be destructive. Fear is something that is natural. It's part of our evolution. You experience fear because it warns you that there is risk. So you have to tread carefully, that you have to take precautions. But that doesn't
Mm.
mean that you shouldn't do it at all. It just means that you have to pause, assess your abilities, assess the risk, and take action if you feel that the consequences will benefit you or others around you. So, yeah, that's the third book. Fear is Not My Enemy helps you to, again, use a psychological techniques so you can recognize fear, assess your abilities, assess the risk, and take action to benefit you and others around you.
Yeah, wonderful. So three books, yeah, are hugely, hugely helpful. I think, yeah, Really good. So what I'll do is I'll definitely post a link below to your website where people can learn about your books and of course your work as well. And your Facebook group. I'm part of your Facebook group. I love it. Just tell people briefly about your group as well. I'd love to get some people in
Oh
there.
yeah, I remember you actually was a guest in the, I do invite fantastic mentors, speakers, coaches in the group. It's called the PAME code, but if people search Living with Purpose, Action, Momentum and Energy, it's a group where people actually share their goals, their intentions. We try to support each other. How do we maintain resilience? How do we build courage? How can we support each other if we have these goals and ambitions in life? Because as I've said, with PAME, if you do it alone, it can be quite isolating. But if we do it together and share our journeys together,
Mm.
we can learn from each other and support each other in that way. And yes, I think it started in January. We have this healthy habits challenge. So people set their intentions. In my case, my intention was to drink 8 glasses of water a day. I
Yeah,
managed
I
to do it
saw.
for 66 days in a row. So that's absolutely brilliant. Some
Congrats.
people changed their diet or their exercise or going out in nature for a walk. So, I post some challenges in the group, and I think the next season will be the season of joy. So we'll fill the group with lots of reasons to be joyful in life. So we can cultivate positive energy in our lives as well.
Yeah, sounds great. Thank you for sharing. I'll definitely be posting a link below. And yeah, I really like being part of the group. You're a really yeah, just you're very inspiring. You're very encouraging, and I think people need that. I think when people do feel, doubtful, they need someone just like you, just to encourage them and provide those tools, those insights, that perspective. So yeah, I'll definitely be posting a link below to your website and the group as well. And once again, thank you so much for joining. I'm really pleased that technology's worked out for us, and yeah, it's been really good.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Will. Hope you found that helpful.
Oh, so much, so much. We'll speak soon, and thanks again. Have a lovely day.
Thank you. You too. Bye.
Bye
Bye.
for now.
Bye.